Sunday, everybody. Welcome to the Average Me channel. Boy, these weeks get shorter and shorter, don't they? And I know the title of tonight's program sounds rather grim, and I have to admit there's a little bit of dark humor that's coming ahead tonight, but we have to find humor where we can find it, right? So I want to start out with this TV behind me. I have been looking for the remote control for that TV. It's the Roku television. And by the way, I do want to see if I am going live here because a lot of times, I think that I'm going out live and then I find out that it's not. And I'm actually not seeing it on my page. Why is that? Um, I actually don't know. When I check on view your channel, there we go. So it looks like it is live now. So anyway, a this TV behind me, it's a Roku TV, and I, for the life of me, cannot find the remote. And sometimes you might pick up a remote control, you might carry it out of the room, and I thought that's a possibility, except I rarely use this TV, which makes me think something happened to the TV remote. So I am I have a sneaking hunch, a sneaking suspicion that Max carried off the remote. Now, I know you're thinking, how could a cat carry off an entire remote control? You don't know this cat. He has, on multiple occasions, carried off the remote control from my bed. And cats can do amazing things. The last cat that we had, Abby, the first day we got her, my wife and my daughter were upstairs, and we lived in a three-level home. And they had gone grocery shopping and they still had not put away all the groceries. They had put away all the refrigerated and frozen stuff, but some stuff was still on the counter. And they started hearing meow, meow. And doggone if that cat didn't carry up an entire, I don't know if it's 10 or 12-ounce bottle of Sunny Delight, took it all the way up the stairs to them. So cats will do weird things. I hate to blame him, but I don't know what else to think because I cannot find it. There's another thing that he always takes off, and it's not a big deal for me. But my wife had really long hair. My daughter, when she visits, has long hair. And there's a hair trap, a little plastic, round plastic thing that fits in the drain. And he gets that all the time. Right now, I don't know where it is. He jumps in the tub and he carries it off. So I'm just telling you this. I thought it'd be interesting to maybe turn that around and have, a pattern or design or something going on as a background. But I couldn't do it because I can't find the remote. Let me tell you something else that rascal's done. Anyone know what this is? Looks kind of strange, doesn't it? This is actually a stand for an antique pocket watch. I still have the pocket watch. It belongs to my father-in-law, and we have it in a lockbox right now. But this had a dome over it, a glass dome. And he pushed that right off the counter, smashed into a million pieces. He did that just before last week's live stream, and I can't tell you how many times I swept and vacuumed and wet mopped and everything else. I am still finding pieces of glass and shards of glass on the floor. Fortunately, I haven't cut myself yet, but I do, I feel something on the bottom of my foot like a piece of sand or a pebble, and sure enough, it's going to be a piece of glass. So, what is this grim title to tonight's program? Something funny happened on the way to the funeral. Well, this is something that goes back several months, and I've been waiting for just the right time to spring this on all of you. So it starts out, the beginning of the story is not funny. It's not funny at all. But when my wife was sick, one day she said to me, um, I want you to help me write my obituary. And I'll tell you, if there is a sentence you never want to hear from a loved one, it's that one. but she always wanted to be in control and on top of things, so I could, understand where she was coming from. But I, um, I thought, what do I know about writing obituaries? I know nothing about writing obituaries. So I started doing a little research. I started reading obituaries, and I realized that some funeral homes, for example, if you just provide them with information, they'll have a little outline and they'll do. I didn't want anyone else doing it, and neither did my wife. And so I started reading obituaries and saw what is the structure, what is the format. And I came across an obituary here. And this, I'll tell you, is the funniest thing. It reads like a parody, like it's something that would be, I don't know, in the Onion, or on the Babylon Bee or something. So I'm going to read this. I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm going to leave some of the personal details out. Of course, I'm certainly not going to mention this gentleman's name. But you have to listen to this, and you're going to say, Mark, you cannot be serious. This can't really be a published obituary. I'm only going to read about half of it. Okay, I'm going to cover up this guy's picture, but only the highlighted stuff. So you see, I'm only reading about half of this. Okay, so here we go. In 1937, this rippling thoroughbred was born on a small farm outside, and it gives a city that I'm not going to give. Right? Really, who starts an obituary with this rippling thoroughbred? It makes me wonder, what did this child look like? What was this little baby that you would describe him as a rippling thoroughbred? All right, the rippling thoroughbred was born on a small farm. It was here he started to hone his legend at a young age. I, I have some thoughts. I have some ideas what happened here, but this is crazy. You're trying to honor and respect somebody at, it's a time when, there's sorrow and people are somber. And you're describing someone as a rippling thoroughbred who's honing his legend. Then it talks a little bit about him liking to go hunting and fishing and training dogs. He taught them, this is the dogs, he taught them to hunt, climb step ladders, dig tunnels, and walk with him in the woods for many happy hours. And his love for dogs continued into his adult years. However, dogs hunting, fishing, and walking in the woods could not contain this wild stallion as his fancy turned to the lady. He's a rippling thoroughbred, a wild stallion, a legend. And this wild stallion's fancy is now turned to the ladies. And it talks about him going on an ice skating trip. And upon his arrival, he set his steely gaze upon a beautiful young lady named, and I'm not going to mention her name. So that's where he met this beautiful young lady. Um, he knew quality when he saw it, and quickly ensnared her in his web of charm and wit. On that day, he became the lord of the rink. Later down the road, that beautiful temptress would become his wife of 65 years. Okay, so you have to believe that this guy's in his 80s. Well, I know he's in his 80s. And they're describing his wife, who's in her mid 80s, as a beautiful temptress. Before and during their marriage, this unstoppable force of nature took on many jobs. He worked as a farmer, in a feed mill, a milkman, a marine. Couldn't this guy hold a job? A guard at an ammunition plant, and a police officer. Every job on the list helped add another rung on the ladder of his legendary status. You would think this guy went on to become, a captain of industry or a president or something, the way they're going on. He taught first aid, but was just wetting his beak with a burning desire of 1,000 suns. He went on to do a number of things here that I am not going to list. After working a few jobs and after graduation, this majestic eagle nested at, and they talk about a technical college where he started to work. So he's a rippling thoroughbred. He's a wild stallion. He is Lord of the Rink, and now he is a majestic eagle. So working here allowed him to spread his wings even further. And after he did a number of things, this is a great one. I love this next title. He gave himself another title, Master of Phantasm. So, as Master of Phantasm, apparently he tried his hand at doing hypnosis shows. And he did parties and even a fun fest. I cannot believe this. Unfortunately, nothing lasts forever. And I just can't believe that someone would describe, a recently deceased loved one in these terms. And I think I know what happened. I think that someone else, a loved one, because I don't think that this guy wrote his own obituary. Now, maybe he did. I don't know. But I think rather they gave AI a shot at it. That's what I think. They went to Chat GTP. Is that what it is? GPT, GTP, GP? I don't know. You know what I'm talking about, the AI site. And I think they went and put his information in, and this is what it turned out, something very flowery and flamboyant. Um, and rather than going ahead and editing it, they went ahead and just published it as is. So I don't know. I found a little humor in that. And you look for humor where you can, right? So, Tom from Marco Island, sincere condolences on the passing of your wife. Um, well, thank you, Tom. I do appreciate that, and I it's tomorrow's gonna be a rough day. Tomorrow's gonna be the 2 month anniversary. I mean, it feels like it was yesterday for me. It's been very very rough. So I do wanna thank you for the thoughts. Looks like Lisa's in the room, and thank you, Lisa. Doing great. Appreciate it. Mark is here. Hi, Mark. So that's what's going on. Now, here's another thing that's happening. I want to know, do you do this? And I think this is happening more because of the world we live in. But with things like Amazon, where you have an opportunity to return things, right? And I think Amazon wouldn't be nearly as successful as it is if they did not allow those returns and have a very generous return policy. But as a result, I find that I am just hanging on to boxes. And what's happening is I'm really concerned. Well, what if I need to return something? What if, this next thing I buy is not going to be suitable? What if it's not going to work? And so I'm hanging on to all of these boxes. Now I have other reasons to keep boxes right now because I'm doing a lot of cleaning out and taking stuff to Goodwill and all that. But do you find because of this shopping online culture, first of all, we get more boxes because we do far less shopping at the mall, and you know they don't have the big department stores. They're not as predominant any longer. So I think what happens is we get a lot more things shipped to our house, and I just keep the boxes because I'm concerned I'm going to be sending them back. And I bought a great big thing recently. Well, I didn't buy it. It was given to me as a Christmas gift. I talked about it last week, was that telescope. And so I had it's a big box. It's probably, I don't know, 18 inches square and 2.5 feet tall. Now, if that doesn't sound like a lot, actually measure it out as a block. That's a big box. And of course, the way that Amazon sells things is they will put the packaging box from the factory inside of the shipping box. So now you have two boxes. And, I'm just nervous about throwing those boxes away on the off chance that I'm going to have to return them. So, I got boxes up the yin yang. And did you know that the longer they give you to return something, the fewer returns are? It's kind of a reverse psychology. If someone says you get 7 days, 7 days you can return it, no questions asked, people are actually more reluctant to buy something then. If they think they've got 30 days or 60 days, they think, well, I got a long time to try this out. But what ends up happening is they forget. They're not counting the days, and they forget. And if they might think right away, oh, I'm going to return this. No hurry. I've got 30 days, and 30 days come and go like that, and they end up not returning it. So marketers have discovered that the longer they give you to return something, the less likely it is to be returned. And it's not because you're satisfied with it. It's just other things begin happening in your life and you just forget to return it. And then that one day comes. Same thing happens with those warranties. People buy the 2 and 3 year warranty and something happens and I'll live with it. It's too much of a hassle. And they kind of forget about the warranty or just feel like, I don't have the box anymore. I can't return it. All right, try not to buy anything by mail order if I can. Oh man, what world are you living in? I buy everything. 95% of the stuff I buy, I think I buy through Amazon. Many times using UPS drop off doesn't require you to put your return in a box. It doesn't. And here I can return things not all the time, but frequently to Staples. And what they do, they scan it, they put a scan sticker on, they put it all in one big shipping box, and then they pick it up with a forklift or something and ship it back to Amazon. The UPS store has that range of Amazon and they box it up for you. Yeah, I can't help saving any boxes that I have. I always say to myself, I'll be able to use this for something. I do the same thing, and right now, like I say, I'm trying to organize things. There's more going on than I want to talk about right now, but I just have those boxes, and that's why I can only put one car in my two-car garage right now. Okay, I'm exaggerating a little bit. I don't have that many boxes, but boxes, boxes, boxes. All right, and coffee. I have coffee on my list. I made a list of what I want to talk about, and one of those things was coffee. I have no idea what I was going to talk about, but I know that it's weird how coffee is part of our life now, isn't it? By the way, I have to show you something. Um, Last week, I didn't do this. My friend Bill from across the street, I was talking about that he wrote a book and I didn't have the book. So I was going to show the book tonight, Brutal Harmony. This is by Bill Kelly. Bill is my buddy that lives across the street, and this is available on Amazon. So anyway, this I want to talk about that a little bit because if I don't, I'm afraid he'll shoot me because this is about mobsters and gangsters. It scares me a little bit. And what I what I wanted to talk about when it comes to coffee is there's so many different ways to make coffee these days. And in my house, I have a Keurig machine, and then I have one of those, I don't know what they're called, the machines that um, what's his name? That guy from Ocean's 11, Clooney. That Clooney advertises Nescafe or whatever it's called. I don't know. I've got one of those, right? And they both use two different types of little pouches. And then, um, okay, Kay says I use my French press coffee. I was getting to that. So my daughter and her boyfriend visits, and he has this coffee press, and he has a little hand crank coffee grinder. And I'm thinking to myself, do we really need all this just for coffee? And then he's got something AeroPress, right? He puts it all in and pours the hot water. I mean, this is like a 20-minute ordeal. You're boiling water and pouring it in this thing. And I was watching uh, something on YouTube. I forget what it was. This guy was traveling, and darned if he didn't have the same thing. He's traveling with this little coffee press, and I'm thinking at some point, open up a jar of freeze dried coffee and mix it with some hot water in the microwave and be done with it. But what I did is I bought some coffee beans at the store. Now I didn't go to a coffee store. I bought it off the shelf, but it's still coffee beans. And I said, well, if he's going to have this fancy thing, I want to put it to the test. So I recorded a bunch of stuff, and I haven't gotten around to editing it yet, but you can look forward to that. And I do a taste test with coffee out of the can, Folgers coffee just out of the can, and ground coffee, and this mixed fancy coffee from, the coffee dealer from direct from Juan Valdez, Colombian coffee broker. Um, the packaged whole beans that need to be ground some of them in his little fancy gadget, and ground some just in my Ninja and ground it up. And it was an interesting experiment. I think you'll be interested in seeing what the outcome is to that. But speaking of my friend Bill across the way, so he had yet another way to make coffee. He has this little stand, and you put on your coffee cup, and then in that stand is a little it's a little sieve. It's shaped like a funnel. It's not a funnel, but shaped like a funnel, and it's got like a screen in there to hold everything back. And you put your coffee grounds in there, you pour your hot water over it. And I commented on it when I was at his house. I'd never seen that before. And wouldn't you know it, if that guy didn't, the next day or two comes walking across the street with a box for me, and he had bought me one of those coffee makers. So now I've got that in addition to the other coffee makers. And actually, I've been using that. Makes pretty good coffee. So, but what I have to do now is I've got to clean out the coffee grounds, right? And I have this little funnel, and it's full of coffee grounds. So I have to scrape it out and dump in the trash and rinse it and all of that. So I have yet to grind the coffee. I still have a lot of those coffee beans left, and I'll grind it and then try it in that machine. And I don't know, then compare it to my Clooney machine, and then compare it to my Keurig machine, and I don't know what else. Compare it to my I don't have any freeze dried coffee, but I might as well get that as well. So that's my coffee. And speaking of neighbors, I like have the best neighbors in the world, but a weird thing happened the other day. I mean, I really do. And I'm not just saying this because it's true. Uh, in all the places I have lived, I have never had so many neighbors that, we've invited each other over into our homes. We've gone out to eat and, helped each other out. I've never lived in a neighborhood where I've had that many people that were just so kind and friendly. And at the other place I've lived, they were fine. We've had nodding acquaintances, but we were never really friends, if you know what I mean. And um, so people have friends, they look out for each other. But what happened the other day, and it just shows you that funny things happen even when people are doing nice things for you. I got home from work, and it was drizzling out, and it was trash day. So we usually put, the trash cans out by the curb. And one of my neighbors, being helpful, rolled my trash can up to my garage door. So now I couldn't get in my garage. So I had to stop. I had to get out. I had to move the trash can. Then I had to go back to my car and then drive in. And then I had to run out and get the other trash can anyway. So if the good deed wasn't done in the first place, I just would have gone into the garage and I would have waited until it stopped raining. But I am not going to. I thought it was amusing, quite frankly, but I'm not going to complain, and I'm not going to say anything because I think that that's really kind, and I know that it came from the good. I still don't know which of my neighbors did it. It could have been any one of 4 or 5 of them. They all do good turns for me, but I just thought that was kind of funny. Would this be the neighbor with the heavy artillery fireworks on New Year's Eve that we heard? No, that was on the other side of the block that you were hearing. So that was not that neighbor. And it sure as shooting wasn't that neighbor that plays the loud, obnoxious music with the profanity in it. It wasn't that neighbor either. I Coffee, I understand, contains glyphosate. I have no idea what that is. I don't know if it's good or bad for me. And so, what is glyphosate? You know, Lisa, I can still read your message because I have the power. It's definitely the thought that counts. It is the thought that counts. That's why the only reason I say this, I thought it was amusing. Um, I use my French press coffee every morning. I use heavy cream because, quite frankly, half and half is too watery. I, I'll tell you, I still use the um, international international flavors or international coffee, something like that. The vanilla flavor. I know it's probably 95% sugar with a little bit of vanilla in. And when I run out, I have even been known to mix a little sugar and a little bit of vanilla and then pour a little milk or cream or something in there to try to replicate that. But that's what I like to mix with my coffee. If I otherwise, I will usually just have coffee with cream, um, never sugar, and rarely black. Sometimes I use black. A carcinogen. So they put a carcinogen in our coffee. Why would they put a carcinogen in our coffee? There must be a reason for it. So I don't know. But anyway, I'm not a science. How do I know that the organic bean people aren't doing that same thing and they're just claiming to be? I mean, remember on Seinfeld, and they had that episode where what was it that was sugar free? I don't remember what it was. Anyone remember that episode? It was a yogurt, I think, and the yogurt was supposed to be sugar free and 0% calories or something. And they found out it was all a hoax. They were just saying that for the promotional aspect of it, and it was no better than any other yogurt. They took it in and had it analyzed at a chemist, and he said, "No, this is loaded with fat. Oh, it's fat free. That was it." He said, "This is loaded with fat." And Newman was really disappointed to hear that. So, I always think the same thing. How do I know that the so-called organic people are not just lacing my stuff with the same carcinogens? You have nothing to apologize for, Lisa. Yes, neighbors are funny. It all depends on where you live. When I lived in Connecticut, we lived next to families for 10 years. Nobody said more than hi to each other. Everybody just mind their own business. Is that it? Um, the FDA, absolutely. I really trust the government wholeheartedly, especially after everything they told us during that COVID lockdown. Boy, they didn't mislead us at all during that, did they? Yeah, the government unfortunately has lost all credibility in my book. Well, maybe not all credibility. There's a smidgen of credibility there, but it depends what department. I just don't know. When I see the things that are being sold and the I think of the FDA, they're supposed to be in the Food and Drug Administration, right? They're supposed to be. When I see the things that are making it to our shelves, I I don't even know why we have an FDA. So anyhow, I guess I could be growing my own food, but we can't in my community. We're not allowed to grow things like that because I think they're concerned that it attracts the palm rats, and we don't want palm rats, do we? So, can you believe that we've been at this a half hour already? And I would almost say we're just getting started, but we're not. I covered all of the topics that I wanted to cover tonight. So, have you guys noticed I've been pumping out videos, boy, left and right? I'm putting out these videos. I think in the past 5 days, I've had 5 videos out. Um, I'm just going to town and keeping busy. And, um, well, I was expecting someone to show up tonight, and she's not here, so I'm not going to comment. But I was questioned. Did you watch? I want you to do me a favor. I want you to watch, and I don't know why this is, but I did a walk and talk today around my community, And boy, if I notice it, my cheeks are really getting fat. I think I'm gonna have to go on a diet or something, or maybe stop with this stuff, huh? Because I really look like I was a little chipmunk, getting ready for the winter and filling up my cheeks with acorns. So anyway, you can watch our video and let me know. But I was griping and complaining about the golf carts, and I'll tell you, golf carts have got to be the most annoying thing about living down here in Florida. Um, if I start doing the curmudgeon report, oh, that's a good name, the curmudgeon report. I could talk about so many things that I find annoying and irritating. I'm going to pour myself some wine. Everybody stay put. What are you going to have, white or red? I polished off a bottle of Chianti this week, and it was kind of funny because this was actually something that we had sitting in the uh, sitting around. It was a bottle of Chianti, and the reason we bought it is my wife liked the bottle, and it had the straw covering to the bottle, that real old-fashioned look to it. And it wasn't an expensive bottle of wine. I'll bet it wasn't 15 or $20. But I broke it out the other day, and I finished it off, I think, yesterday. So the funny thing was, as I was watching this, I watch most of the time, I watch YouTube. And I was watching, someone was interviewing um, Ferguson. Is that his name? Craig Ferguson? And he was commenting, darn if they didn't have that same bottle sitting in front of them on the table. How wild is that? You're going to have wild Irish spoons. Now, I think I'll pass on that. Although I did see a guy making wine on YouTube, and he was starting out um, with the grape juice, that you buy, the Welch's grape juice, and he made wine on the Cabernet. Cabernet. If I'm just sitting around, I think I prefer a white wine, a Pinot Grigio or something. If I'm eating something, that matches good with a red wine, I'll have red wine. But if I'm having, something, something with red sauce, I'll have a red wine, some kind of pasta or something. Or if I'm having meat, I don't have a lot of red meat anymore. But otherwise, I like a light white wine usually. So I had to get the bottle to spell it. Sauvignon. Yeah. Yeah, isn't that interesting how they name the wines after uh, areas in other countries, right? So I wonder if they will ever have. Of course, my whole community here is named after Italian, Naples and the streets and everything else. But I don't think that they would ever have a wine named Waukesha. Milwaukee wine. Now they have Milwaukee beer, right? You get Old Milwaukee and Milwaukee's best. And so we have our niche, we have our foothold. And that is in the brewed drinks. So, all right, everyone. So, anyone have something you want to discuss, or should we bring this one to a close? I'm not a big wine drinker. I don't like anything dry. Well, not all wines are dry. There's some wines that are in between. There's some wines that are sweet. And sometimes a dry wine is good though. It depends what you're eating. I want to reduce my sauces, and who was I kidding? You want to reduce those sauces after you eat the sauce? I think that's why they say people get sauced, right? All right. So I just go with distilled beverages most of the time. So my wife was the wine drinker, and so whatever wines we have left, whether or not I'll be replacing them, is that's up in the air. Does anyone know a good not dry wine? There's tons of them. When you go to your liquor store, tell them you'd like a sweet wine. You don't want a dry wine, and they'll help you out, or even something in between. You know, I am not good at that. My daughter took those sommelier classes. She took the courses and she knows wine pretty well. She can talk intelligently about wine, but um, as you probably know, I don't talk intelligently about anything. I just talk. I just start spewing out whatever comes to mind um, about a legendary rippling thoroughbred. That's what I talk about. My favorite is a snake bite. Uh, San Sebastian's a good one. Made in St. Augustine, really. And where? What is the base for that? Is it grapes? And if so, where are they grown? Because I don't think they grow grapes in uh, St. Augustine. But what do I know? It's a good sweet white wine. I can make a joke, but it'd be off color, so I'm not going to. Write your own punchline about a good sweet white wine. I'll give you a starting point. Wine, not the beverage, but the noise that people make when they're complaining. Take it from there. All right. How's everyone else's life been? You have a good week? You got anything on the burner for this week? I know I've got kind of a heavy week at work coming up. Some of my coworkers are going to be on vacation, so I have to not pull double duty, but just step up to the plate and make sure that I got to make sure I'm doing things right for a change. So there you go. And if you haven't watched my other videos, I need to get those views up. And let's see. I'm going to refresh my screen and see how many thumbs up I have tonight. I've only got 4, so come on, if we can all go over and hit that like button, it all helps just a little bit. All right. Before things get too long in the tooth, the people that are watching this later decide, I'm going to tune out. This is getting dull. I think we're going to draw this one to a close. So I want to thank you all for joining me. As always, I know that you have different things you can be doing on a Sunday night, and I appreciate that you spent a little bit of your time with me. Please like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you don't watch during the week, I'll see you here next Sunday on the Average Me channel. Thanks, everyone. Good night.